as promised, I'm going to turn my focus from the mechanical side of things back to the welding, which is where I really started off. I basically did pretty much everything at the front and a little bit in this corner, and then started remaking the floors and a couple of repairs under the back there. I'm now going to focus on the sill itself. Now, on an SD1, it is a separate panel, but it's quite involved to swap it out, because the panel goes right from this flange here, which has it's actually the inner sill and then the outer sill joined to that flange, but the A pillar and the B pillar and also the C pillar all come down and sit on top of it. So if you want to swap the sill, you have to unpick it through here as well, because it disappears all the way along the length of the car there. It's actually sandwiched in, and that in that hole there is also the top of the sill. So it's not a 5-minute job. At the bottom you've got a flange all the way along the whole length, which is that bit. I've chopped it out here because I needed access to be able to weld up the inner sill like I did. But it's come to the time where I've got to make a decision about how I repair it. So what a lot of people do is, because they don't want to have to unpick all of this, and usually that bit's pretty solid, they just cut the sill along the length and replace the bottom bit. I don't want to do that because it's not a particularly neat repair. You have to end up seaming a whole sill, which is just an arse really. Well, it's not an arse, it's just pointless really. But on this car, I've actually got some fairly well developed corrosion in this bit. There's a hole there, which I've been poking with a screwdriver. That bit isn't very nice. That bit isn't very nice. And then as you work your way rearward, that bit really isn't very nice. There should all be metal here going right across, and then this comes down to close it off, and you should have a nice neat join there where it's completely gone. So I've made the decision to chop out the whole of this sill, unpick it all and do it properly. Because I'm going to be doing some major surgery, I'm going to need to brace it. They're pretty stiff cars, but it's a lot of metal to be cutting out, so I'm going to weld some bars in between the A post and the B post, and then picking up from the B post, going back to the C post over there. So that's the first job. It's just to make a bit of a tidy area, protect some of the soft furnishings that I've left in here, and clean that off, and then just tack a couple of pieces of bar across so I can chop the sill off and it won't collapse. Got my bed welded in and some kind of suggestion of protecting the interior. Now comes the fun but messy, laborious, tedious bit, and that is chopping off the old sill. I've learnt my lesson from last time. I've got a whole load of plastic sheeting to put down because I don't think they were very happy when I left big rusty stains like that on the office car park. You can still see where that's dirty, like old mossy stuff, and then it gets clean actually where the car was, because I had to scrub that and jet wash it. So this time I'm going to put plastic sheet down because this is going to be messy. Down. I'm going to chop the bulk of the metal out first, and then as I get closer to bits I need to keep, I'll do it a bit more neatly. What I might do in the first instance, before I lose this strength, is drill through the spot welds where I know I need to keep the flanges, because if I chop the bulk of the metal out now and then I try and put a drill through here, it's just going to bend and distort. So if I drill out, or at least get the the pilot holes drilled now, I'll be in a better stage than I would otherwise later on. Anyone who saw my earlier videos, I don't know, I think I covered it. I was thinking that this side of the car had been painted previously because of the overspray on these nylon threads. Well, there's definitely filler in here, and that's making finding some of these spot weld holes quite difficult. So I'm gonna actually do what I said I wasn't going to do, and that is just chop it off and worry about it later. Yes, there will be some distortion in these bits, but by the looks of things, I'm going to be remaking some of this anyway. So whether I chop the spot welds out now or later doesn't really matter, because I'm still going to have to do that work twice. So I'm just going to get on and chop out as much of the sill as I can. That's the majority of the old sill cut off. So you can see even under the top, which looked okay, it's starting to rot, so no hardship really, or no bad decision to chop that out. You can see the repairs that I made to the front as I was coming backwards. These are the bits that all need to be finished off. Obviously I couldn't get in here to repair this previously, whereas now I can. That's more rot just accumulated there. Good thing is this is just surface on the inner sill from that point backwards, which is nice. And then the bit that usually kills SD1s is this bit, and that's all really nice. These captive threads for the training arms. That's good. It's good right the way through to there. Just needs that flange cleaning up. So that's nice. Now I'm going to go, well, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to continue cleaning up those flanges. I can't be bothered to drill out all the spot welds because it takes forever. So I find the best way is to cut through here with a cutting disc very neatly, and then you can just sand it off afterwards. Makes a mess, but it means that you end up with a nice flange here to weld back onto. Every time I use those spot weld drills, yes, it breaks the spot weld, but it ruins the panel on the backside. So then when you come to plug weld back on, it just blows a big hole. So I prefer to just do all my work from this side, and then hopefully leaving the bit that I want to weld back onto nice and strong. This is what I meant. I've basically gone end on with the skinny cutting disc, 1mm. I'm not even trying to cut all the way through that. In fact, I don't want to cut through it. I will have done in a few places, but it doesn't really matter. Chopping it into it like that just seems to relax the metal, and where there isn't a spot weld, it kind of bows out. And then sometimes, if you're lucky, you can just start levering it, it breaks off like that. So I'll go along with the screwdriver now, lever off as much as I can, and then where it's stuck on, I know I need to come back with my sander, but it then means all I need to do, like say if that bit comes out now, I know the spot weld's there, so I just sand that bit off, and then I'm left with a nice clean flange there to weld back onto. That's the plan. So I'm just going to repeat that same operation all the way along the top, all the way along the bottom. These bits I'm going to leave for the moment because I need to work out how much I need to chop off to repair them. So I might get my wire wheel to clean that off. In the front here, ideally I would be chopping all of this off too. The reason I haven't done it yet is I'm still trying to work out how to go about sorting this bit, because the sill actually continues all the way past the front wing, all the way to the inner wing, and we're joining down here. But obviously I didn't really want to cut any more of my wing off above that black line, because I could weld this, grind it back, stone chip it, and you'll never see it, and I won't need to paint any more blue stuff. But if you're being a proper geek about it, I should really chop the wing off and chop the sill off all the way up there. Thing is, if I do it carefully, I could join it in here, weld the wing back on over the top, and you'll never know. So yeah, still undecided, but that's why I haven't chopped that bit off yet. I've swapped my cutting disc for a sanding wheel. Can't remember what grit that is. 80. That's not chosen because it needs to be 80, it's just because of what I've got in my drawer. But yeah, I've continued cutting and slicing, and now I'm gonna just nip that off and delicately sand back to nice good metal. I think I'm getting towards the end of what I'm gonna do today. Got the majority of the sill off. what's really great is how solid all of that metal there is. There's some surface rust which I'll treat with one of those deox gels, either the Built Hamber one or Genelite or something like that. That flange along the top, perfect. Haven't yet got that bit out, but I was throwing sparks upwards when I turned the grinder around that way to get to it. I had to chop a bit more out of there because it was rotten, but that's okay because that's my new inner sill that I put in from the other side ages ago, so I can just extend that rearward to pick up onto that plate. And then ouch, that hurt, I just stabbed myself. That's the bottom of the B pillar here. You can just see the spot welds there. I've sanded the filler out. That little corner I'll probably have to remake and get all that out. You can see the remains of the old sill under there. That's what needs picking out. It's just a bit of a laborious job. That flange across the top is perfect. I still haven't worked out what I'm doing at the front, so I've left that for the moment. I've peeled back this bit just so I could chop out around there. Got nice good flanges to go onto that floor reinforcer, so that's good. And again, more surface rust here to the inner sill, but it is only surface rust. So all looking good for putting it all back together again. One thing that I should have done, which I forgot to do, which is silly, is I would ordinarily have marked the distance between the top of the sill and the bottom of the door. So when I put the new sill on, I could push it up with a trolley jack or something, get that right, and then tack it. The quality of the sills is pretty damn good from Rover. They're original pressings, and I don't anticipate them being like wayward in any way. So long as the top and the bottom of the flanges lines up, it'll probably line up with the doors okay. This door is better, and I'm more reassured that that one will give a nice line. So I'm not too bothered, but just if you're ever going to do this yourself, what I've done in the past is put a line of masking tape or scribe a line if it's a shit door and I don't care about it, and then measure down to the, as I was saying, that radius there, and then just write it on the door with pen, and then you can just move this up and down before you do your final welding to make sure it's cock on perfect. In fact, I'll go and get a sill and then you can see what I'm on about. So here we have the replacement sill. This is the front end obviously. So you can see that's, I think I've cut off about to here. This is the bit that would go underneath the A post, that would come down and sit here. Then this is the bit that would go behind the front wing and kiss up to the inner sill. What I was debating about earlier is whether or not just to section this one about here and then graft it in without having to unpick all of that bit. Still undecided, but we'll worry about that when we get there. But they're really thick metal, very stiff, very stable, and I think it'll line up perfect. That's the bit where the B pillar goes, in the middle there, and then at the back, C pillar, and it has that nice shape to go on the inner sill down there. Then it also has that sort of curved bit which comes down to the bottom of the rear wing, and it has the return on the back, but it doesn't have the base of the inner wheel well, so that I'll have to fabricate from hand or chop out of another donor panel. Again, going back to my much older videos, I had this bit which my mate Simon chopped out of a really bodged on wing of a scrap car that he had. So my original plan was to use sections of this to remake that bit and then just remake the flanges. I know people have said, oh, I should just swap that whole wing because it's rotten and that bit's dented, and part of me thinks I should, the other part of me thinks no, because that is so lovely and it's original and I quite like that dent. but yeah, it's a borderline thing. That wing doesn't actually come with that bit, that's part of the wheel well. If I was to swap this whole wing, I'd be unpicking it along this flange here, inside there, and then I'd have to chop it here and there, take the window out, and then just unpick it all the way around. So yeah, still to make my mind up on that. The reason swapping that would be a good idea is because I'm going to have to remake the bottom anyway. The reason originally I wasn't going to do that is of course because that bit's black, and once I've undersealed it you won't notice, so I could basically chop that, fabricate it quite quickly just out of bits of steel and my folder, weld it in and never have to disturb the blue bit. So yeah, still undecided, but the way I go about swapping the sill won't influence decision making on that rear wing, so it's really only this front bit. I'm probably rambling now, but I like to explain why it is I'm doing things the way I'm doing them, because then you're free to choose whether you do it the same way or whether you listen to my reasoning, don't agree and do it your own way. I don't mind. I think this door would need to come off. I need to unpick that, unpick along this seam in here from the footwell, drill out all the plug welds there, and then fanny around. I'd probably have to chop this wing off higher because the sill goes right up in there. Yeah, I really am rambling now. I'm going to get some zinc primer and just dust it over those bits that I've left unprotected, because I don't know when I'm next going to get a chance to work on the car, because I've got a busy weekend coming up. It's great putting zinc on stuff, because as soon as it's one colour it kind of makes it look like you've done a lot more work than you have. But yeah, some of that will have to come off anyway, because I'll want to take it back properly to bare metal, and as I said, those bits at the back are going to need proper rust treatment. But even though it's destructive, it's still progress, still moving the project along, which is the trick of these things.